Today we will take a tour of my nook collection and I will share my thoughts. I tried plastic and bamboo Tunisian hook sets first. I didn't like how lightweight they felt and they seemed to bend under the weight of some projects, and I didn't like that I couldn't easily remove the cables. So I donated those and at last tried some metal hooks, and of course that's what I like best. Isn't that always the way? I bought the Prim set, which came with a 4mm and a 6mm hook. I mostly used the 6mm when I was just starting out and it worked great. But now I mostly knit with DK yarn. I tend to save Aran weight for my knitting machine, so I mostly use the 4mm now. It's great overall, but the tip is a little bit thicker. So sliding stitches off, especially on the cast on row, can be a bit tricky. Once you get into the project, it gets a lot easier, but that cast on row can be quite difficult. So since I knew that I preferred metal, I started hunting for other sizes. I accidentally bought these giant plastic ones. They're huge. I think it's a 9 and a 10 or an 8 and a 9. They have no markings on them, which is, super helpful. I do like they have ridges on the end that the cable can slide into, so getting the stitches off should be nice and easy, but they are massive and they are plastic. I mean, it's hard to tell because they're larger sizes whether they're firm and sturdy because they're massive or firm and sturdy because of the quality of the plastic. I don't know. But I've not used these yet, so I can't give them a good review. But they don't take up much space, so I am going to keep them. And I am considering knitting myself a cardigan, so they might come in handy for that, as I might be using bulky yarn for that. But after that little blunder, I quickly snapped up a 2 and 3mm pony set, which was super helpful for doing ribbing on smaller hook sizes. These hooks are great and definitely worth the price if you're planning on doing finger weight projects. I haven't used the 2mm because, it's tiny. But the 3mm I have used, and the end seems fine. I don't know why it seems so exaggerated on the 4 compared to even on the 6. It's absolutely fine. But yeah, it seems fine on the 3. But again, these don't have sizes printed on them. I just know what they are. So it's not, again, enormously helpful. Okay. But last year, I decided to knit the folklore cardigan, and the pattern called for a 5mm. I tried swatching with my 4 and my 6, but neither worked. I needed a 5. So at first I thought I'd buy a single 5mm Tunisian hook with an interchangeable cable. But then, as my birthday was coming up, and honestly, I'd been knooking almost daily for over 10 years, I felt it was time I treated myself to a fully interchangeable set. The one I bought was from Temu. Like everything on there, it's now discontinued, but there are loads of similar things around now. And of course, the half the price I paid, not that I'm bitter at all. So when it arrived, I was excited by all of the sizes, and they've all got labels on there. So it does come in half sizes. I think it goes all the way from a 3 up to a 10, so going up in the half sizes. I tried knitting with the cable attachment. So this is the cable attachment that it comes with. Let me just pop it in the end. So I tried knitting with the cables, but it felt heavy and inflexible, and it was hurting my arms. So with my husband's help, I detached the little cable from the attachment, as you can see on this one here. And then what I do is I just put my waste yarn through the little hole on the end. So now my setup is the hooks, and then I just have this little pouch here, which inside has the gripper and those little key twisty things. And I can just easily detach it and add it to any of the hooks that I need to. And whenever the tips are not in use, I just leave them inside here. I've got another one in here there. So I do have yarn threaders in my notions pouch. However, I tend to find that I can just thread the yarn through the hole by hand. I also sometimes just swap the tips around with a light bulb stitch marker. So if I can't be bothered to go and find this pouch, which just lives in my little handle holder, but I always have stitch markers in my notions pouch, and I can just easily detach it with the stitch marker and then easily attach it. And I've never had any problems with it falling off mid-project or anything like that. And I've been using these daily since September. So I would say the only downside to this set, and this is obviously only if you're doing it the way I use it, is that the end can still be a little sharp. And it can snag on the project if I'm not careful. So it's not sharp enough to cut you or anything, but it is sharp enough that it will snag any yarn. So when I'm putting it away, I always make sure to take the hook out of my project and I put it in my notions pouch just to keep it from snagging any project while they're in the bag. I did try sanding down the end, but it created a lot of sparks and I scared myself. So if anyone has any tips on how to blend the end without setting off fireworks, I'd really appreciate it. So for my final thoughts, this 4mm, still my favourite. It's a good workhorse and it's been with me many years. But even with the bulky edge, I've happily nooked project after project for many years. But this interchangeable set has opened up a lot more opportunities for working with different yarns and different projects. And I think especially if you use knitting patterns where you have to get a certain gauge with certain yarn, you need to have the chance to change between small increments of needles. So I think this was a very good purchase and I really wish I'd bought it sooner. So those are all the hooks that I have. I do still have 2 crochet hooks just because I like them. But I can crochet with all of these as well. But that's my entire collection. I'd love to know, have you tried any other nooks? Where do you get them from? Please leave a comment below and I'll see you in the next one.